Okay, this is the second in a little series of podcasts around the senses, which is linking up with a lecture series I'm putting together. Also, actually, it links up with some chapters that I'm doing on kind of repatterning our senses in the book I'm writing called The Dynamics of Stillness. So I thought it'd be kind of okay to talk about little things that strike me about this that may or may not be of interest anyways. So today I think we'll talk about taste. Taste is an interesting, because it would be quantified more as a kind of social sense, because for humans especially, food is a social occasion. You know, we go out for dinner. In many countries, the idea of breaking bread has been quite a strong thing in kind of cultures around the world for many years. It's a sign of connecting with each other. It's an intimate sense, because we can't, like vision, hearing, or even smell, do it at a distance. We have to put something into our mouths in order to taste it. So it's an incredibly intimate sense. Taste, though, is very linked to what we were talking about before. To smell, it depends a lot on our sense of smell. For example, you know, if we've got a cold and our nose is all blocked and our olfactory receptors are all blocked, we can't taste anything. We have no discernment of tasting. Likewise, if there's something that we taste that's very particular and we like it a lot, what we tend to do is exhale, breathe out when we've taken the mouthful. And what that does is that pushes the air with the particles of what we've been tasting up into the backs of our noses where the olfactory receptors are. So we bring in our sense of smell, because smell is much more discerning. Taste is really made up of only 4 categories. It's quite a simple sense. We can taste bitter, sweet, salt, and sour. So there's just 4 different tastes that we can get together. Interestingly, they have slightly different kind of sensitivity. Sweetness, we can taste 1 particle in 200. So in 1 in 200, we can get a sense of sweetness, which is quite low. Sourness, we can detect 1 in 400. With bitterness, it's 1 in 2 million, which is an incredible difference. But having said that, our sense of smell is 25,000 times as strong as our sense of taste. So in order to discern tastes, we're mainly using our sense of smell. Smell starts actually from about the 3rd trimester. We can actually taste. We can actually taste from around the 3rd trimester, from about 25 weeks on pre-birth. And at birth, which is different from our discrimination of smell at birth, we can discriminate which tastes good or which tastes bad. For example, my son Dylan, I remember when he was being breastfed, if my wife had taken anything sour or bitter, or actually dairy produce, which Dylan hated, he would turn up his nose and pull away. He hated the taste of this sourness, I think. Likewise, when he was later somewhat bottle fed, he would turn away from anything dairy. He found it very sour, it looks like. We have about 4,500 taste buds in our tongue and behind the tongue on the palate behind there. And these are replaced actually every 7 to 10 days, which is amazing. You know, these taste buds are replaced very fast. They wear out. What's interesting is if you're over 45 like me, we get less replacement of our taste buds. So actually our sense of taste diminishes after around 45 degrees. Babies have the most. Babies can taste much more acutely than adults. They're attuned very much to the sweet tastes. Babies really are aware and connect with sweet taste, the sweet taste of mother's milk, which connects them and gives an emotional relationship to security and to nurture, which is connected later to possibly to our sense of wanting or craving sweet things if we're feeling we need nurture. Also, sweet things, when we taste them in our mouths, release certain opiates in the brain which link up with the pleasure centers of the brain. That's why there's a direct relationship between eating chocolate and feeling better. So it's very interesting. And actually in babies, when their taste buds first develop, before their sense of taste develops, at around 15 weeks, about a week, 4 or 5 weeks before the taste develops. But the chemical changes in the amniotic fluid, which are constantly changing, are passing over these taste buds, and there is a reaction, this sort of a primitive taste. And it's thought that actually what we taste and the chemical changes within the amniotic fluids, the sweetness, whatever, our food quantity and qualities that we're taking in, can possibly affect how taste develops when we're children, when we're older and children. I mean, taste in children varies. They go through various times where they are more able and more happy to taste certain things. There are certain things that children cannot stand the taste of, but as you get older, it tastes better. For example, Brussels sprouts, when you're young, or greens, taste very, very sour and bitter. So those sour and bitter taste buds are very overwhelming for children because they're much more sensitive to it. As we get older, we can cope with sour and bitter tastes much better. Likewise, for example, whiskey. It's interesting that I think people get a taste for whiskey. I used to hate whiskey when I was younger, but I don't mind the taste of whiskey now, which is funny. So over 45, maybe it's because our taste buds diminish over 45, and also we have a better tolerance of sour and bitter taste, that things like whiskey become more palatable when we're older. Children, no chance. Children, taste of alcohol, if it's in some sort of remedy or some sort of base for anything, they can't stand it, And my children, even at teenagers, if you give them a taste of wine, yuck, it's sour and bitter and horrible. It's interesting. So our taste varies and changes throughout our lives. And it's a fundamental sense for us. It's how we engage with the world and how we first sense the world through taste and through feeling and through smell before, when we're very first born. Okay. I'll develop this next time. I think we'll do touch.